the Penrite Pro MX Championship presented by AMX Super Stores. We are at a track rich in motocross history, Gillman, South Australia, located just 20 k's north of Adelaide, the city of churches, and I bet there are a few prayers going on down in the pits because the Thor MX1 Championship is at the halfway mark and things are tightening up. Hi, I'm Kate Peck, and with me is 11-time national champ Lee Hogan. Hogs, it's excellent to be here. The sun is shining, but as I mentioned, this place is steeped in history. They used to host the Mr. Motocross Championship here with legends like Jeff Leask and Craig Dack, and you've had some great racing memories here.
Yeah, Kate, I got many fond memories from this place, but I must say none more so than the one on screen at the moment. I was just a young little 16-year-old grommy. I was racing the Danny Riley Memorial here. It was 20 laps around this place, very intense, and I got the W, I got the win. I'm pretty stoked.
Yes, well, let's talk about winning because someone who's been doing a bit of it recently is the man to beat this weekend. He's not the championship leader. He's not one of the local lads. It's HRC's Dean Ferris, and his form is dangerous right now.
Well, here's a man on a mission, and he is coming like an out-of-control steam train, I'll tell you that. The main thing is for his main competitors is he has dangerous confidence. If they don't stop him at this round, at the halfway point of the series, they've got some major dramas on their hands.
Well, let's take a look at the MX1 Championship points because by just 1 point, in charge is Husqvarna's Todd Waters with the red plate.
Yeah, he's got the red plate, but I think what the last round at Wodonga showed us is that the championship points chase can be turned totally on its head in one round and completely be twisted around. So I guess it's a case of watch this space and what's going to happen at the end of this round.
Yeah, well, we've also got in P3 Dean Ferris and in P4 local lad Brett Metcalf, but all the fields are stacked. It's going to be an action-packed day.
MX3, MX2, MX1. There's so many little battles embroiled at the moment in amongst all three of these classes, and it's an absolute pleasure to watch. I love it.
And then, of course, there's MXW, and they're just in a whole nother league of their own. It's fantastic to see so many girls out here. But let's take a look at the Gillman track ahead with expert commentator, our very own Danny Ham.
This week's Michelin Track Preview is all about speed, and it starts right here on the start itself. A long distance between the gate to the first turn with a soil that's absolutely beautiful, really deep, a lot of grip, sandy sort of soil that's going to sap the power out of the bikes, especially the smaller 250s. So really important that you get a good jump. Really wide first turn as well. It's going to offer a lot of room for the riders to make their way through this corner and hustle for position as they go through. And as they move around here, we're presented with even more fast, long straights. Down to the second turn, as you can see right behind me, it goes into that right-hander. Again, still nice and wide, but you can see it there starting to funnel in. Third straight, again, really long, very fast, and again, if you don't get yourself positioned perfectly early on in that gate drop, you are going to be paying the price as they move down through that straight, and you're going to have a hard day ahead of you.
The Gillman motocross track has been a regular fixture on the national calendar for decades now. And while the track itself has changed many times over the years, the one thing that consistently remains the same is the quality of the dirt and how tacky and loamy it gets here when it's prepared properly. But in recent years, the new addition right behind me is this jump up to an elevated part of the track where riders will launch their way up, they'll tackle a corner, a couple of jumps before launching back down again into the lower parts of the track. Now, the big difference up here is the different quality of the soil, and it's a heck of a lot more clay base, as we can see. So up the top, we're going to see a lot more in the rut department. We're going to see shorter and sharper bumps, and also, if the skies open up, this elevated section is not going to deal with the rain anywhere near as good as this sandy base down here. The
MRA club has put a huge effort into this track, and It's presented us with such a fantastic surface, but it doesn't take too much to find a few little hidden gems around the track as well, which could play into it later on in the day. Flat tyres could become an issue. And where I'm walking at the moment is probably the trickiest, hardest part on the track. We're at a set of rolling whoops that span around this turn right here. Now, to try and put a couple of riders through here is one thing. This is pretty early in off the start. So if you try and put 10 riders through here, things are not going to work out too well for you. It's going to develop this very tight inside line. To make a pass on the outside is going to be very, very hard. Add into that, we've got such big jumps as well. This track really is going to deliver everything on the day. Lots of roughness, sharp edge bumps, rolling whoops, big jumps, big berms. This track has everything this weekend. You're really going to have to be on your game. And that there is our Michelin track preview.
I'm at the start line for the MX1 Moto 1 race, and I've got motocross legend and Mr. Motocross legend, Craig Dack. Dacker, so Aaron Tanti, your rider in the race today, tell us about the gate that he's chosen.
We've started on the outside of all the riders and next to the box to give us a little bit more room to move. Because it's a 180-degree turn and quite a soft, sandy start straight, everybody will bundle up around the inside. So hopefully we're going to swing across the outside and go around them. And then, because it's a left-hander, end up on the outside. That'll put us on the inside for the next right-hander. That's the theory, but see how we go.
And just quickly, talk to us about the changing conditions out there.
It's one of those tracks where you're going to have to get into a rhythm early. It's quite rough. And be prepared to change lines because the track's so soft, it's moving all the time.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Craig. Good luck out there. Thanks, boys.
Well, great to get some little insights there from Craig Dack himself. And interesting to note, Danny Ham, a very far outside pit there for Tanti. Completely different to what we saw from Wilson Todd. Let's take a quick look at the Thor lineup for the MX1 Moto 1. Aaron Tanti, fastest in both qualifying and the pole shootout. Brett Metcalf, the hometown hero. Kurt Gibbs, another South Australian.
Waters, Ferris Melross, who's much better performance so far today. Rikers we expect to be up there on this kind of surface as well. Joel Evans, McManus was also up there with a good result. As the rest of the field also having a tough day ahead of them with a track like this. It's certainly going to get a fair bit rougher, but let's get back to that point that we just heard Kate talk about. It's that starting position just outside the box. You and I have both said you want to be up the inside, so this is completely left field for what I'm thinking. It may work, but
it may work, but it may be he's questioning his jump out of the gate. We know how good Ferris has been jumping out of the gate in recent races. If you don't get a good jump out of gate number 1, you can get boxed off on the inside. So that could be the mentality. Look who has grid number 1, number 24, local hometown hero, Brett Metcalf. Well, Danny Ham, we're in the starter's hands now. Thor, MX1, Moto 1, drop of the gate. Who is going to launch their way into turn number 1? Great start from Mehdi up the inside.
Everything from the inside, so that probably wasn't the best call for Yamaha guys, but it is Brett Metcalf that leads this one. Ferris around the outside, quickly makes that pass, gets himself up into second, Gibbs back there in fourth. Who's at third place? Liam Jackson. Wow, great start by Liam. But he's been shuffled back now.
And so even when Ferris doesn't get the best of starts, he still comes up there in the top 2, and what a launch out of that berm. And he has slotted himself straight into the lead in the early stages here and caught Brett Metcalf a little bit unawares.
Back there, 5th place, the blue Yamaha bottom of screen. That there is Tanti, our fastest qualifier. So he is a little bit further back as we have a look at the 100% whole shot award. That is awarded to Brett Metcalf, who sits there in 2nd place. Now, Metcalf's a smart rider. He should be able to just tag onto the back of Ferris, learn some lines, and see if he can manage charge a little bit later.
Well, there's so many cool stories that could start to evolve here. We'll have to watch it. A long way back through the pack is Todd Waters. It'd be very interesting to try to pick up and see what has happened to him. But up at the head of the pack, Dean Ferris on the Honda HRC machine. He's got a hard-charging Brett Metcalf that will not want to let him go. These guys have had many sparring matches over the years, and really in these early stages, Danny, it's mainly a case of do not make a big mistake, and whatever you do, don't put your bike on the ground. You'll get slotted straight back through the field.
Atkinson back there in 5th place on the 68 machine. It's a rider that we have never really had spoken anything about. Sitting there in a great position on that 68 as they go down, complete their first lap. It is Ferris over Metcalf. Gibbs in a good position, but he's got plenty of pressure at the moment from Tanti sitting in there behind him.
Rider gone down there on the Honda machine, one of the privateers. But as you mentioned, Tanti all over the back of the factory KTM rider, Kurt Gibbs, who had consistently fast times. But consistently, the fastest times were Aaron Tanti. Not the best start for him. I wonder if they'll reassess that starting position for race number 2, Danny.
Yeah, I think they will. It's just too much boxed out going into that first turn. I like the idea of going into the second turn up the inside, but if you are too far back, then that's not going to help out too much at all. As we see these riders getting around that right-hand corner, and those bumps definitely starting to develop at the moment, those acceleration bumps.
Now, Todd Waters has already made his way up into 5th place, but there's a bit of separation now between those first 4 and nearly a 4-second gap back to Waters. It'll be interesting to see if he's got the pace to get himself onto these 4, because they're the 4 key players, and they're all going very, very similar pace at the moment. Mistake, doing everything he can to try to get up near the pointy end of the field.
Ran a little bit too hot into that corner at the back end, stepping out over the top of that berm. We've seen it in earlier races today, how those outside lines, if you're not careful, they can blow through quite easily. And that seems to be exactly what has happened there with Tanti on that one shot, as we see 0 mistakes from the 111 machine of Ferris on that Honda at the moment, looking very comfortable, but he does have that cuff right there.
He does, but he looks like he's doing it relatively easy. These early stages, and we saw it at the last round at Wodonga, even during those shorter sprint races, we saw that he sprints really hard in the first couple of laps. Mistake there from Ferris, and that's opened the door up. The pass has been made. Can Metcalf hold it into this next turn? Surely he can. What a move.
Well, I was going to say, just before that, Metcalf closed in huge amounts over that left-hander right up the inside. And yeah, just that's all it takes is that pressure. Make those mistakes. And look at this, the next 2 boys are also right there as well. And that's the fastest lap, 2:03 for Metcalf.
Big mistake of Ferris right there. You didn't actually get to see on the screen, Hammy, but there's the kick to the inside, forcing Ferris to go wide. And a beautiful little pass up the inside there for Brett Metcalf.
That was well read and planned out as well. So good move up to the lead for Metcalf at the moment. The local rider who's done plenty of laps around here, I'm sure will know every single part of this track.
Well, that was a nice setup. Trying to throw a front wheel up the inside there. That was set up from a very tight line, launching off that single onto the main straight from Dean Ferris. Tanti's made his way into second and is almost all over the back of Ferris already. Yep. This lap time speed that we saw during qualifying from Tanti has translated into race speed. This is a great sign for the CDR Yamaha Monster Energy rider.
Early days in this moto, 25 minutes, 20 to go, so we got plenty of time as the riders are scanning around, trying to find some new lines.
What a line there from Tanti, across from the berm, across into that inside line.
Tanti has the bit between teeth at the moment, and a beautiful line around the outside. Mistake by Ferris. Up the inside has allowed Tanti to move straight into the lead. So we've seen in previous rounds how Tanti has been so fast. Sorry, my mistake. Metcalf's still in the lead. I meant that. And Tanti in second, but he won't be long until he is pressuring for the lead. What I was trying to say is that in previous rounds, we've seen Tanti running up the front and everyone chasing him down.
Yes.
The roles have reversed at the moment. He is the one doing the chasing.
You're exactly right. And you know what? Sometimes it can help you and stop you from pumping up. The fact that you're coming from mid-race, that implied pressure from being in the lead hurts, let me tell you. Here's a replay, a Honda replay of that pass from around the outside, assisted by the small mistake, not a major mistake from Ferris, but it was enough to allow Tanti to make that pass for second place. Now watch the gap between Brett Metcalf. Do not let him have too much breathing space because he will run away with this thing.
Well, 3 seconds. He is absolutely put down a burner that last lap. He is a complete second faster than anyone else on that particular last lap. So Metcalf is starting to feel good at the moment. We know the speed. And just smart.
Did you notice
lines.
that little hop
over the top?
Hop over the little kicker. They're the old school kind of thing. Great to see that coming out.
Okay, have a look behind. Let's see the distance now. As we see, also Gibbs has gone around Ferris.
Right, so a little bit of shuffling around in what we will call still these early stages of the race. With 18 minutes to go on the clock, the duration of this 25 minutes plus a lap. A couple of little issues that seen Ferris go from second to first and then now back to fourth place. But the gap we need to watch is between Metcalf and Tanti, 2.5 seconds now.
quickest on track that last lap around 2 also was Todd Waters, clear by 0.8 of a second over our lead rider. So we could have him roll up into this party as well. You can see him right there behind Ferris as they go through that shot. So he is going to be another player. Is this Ferris just taking his time now? He's made a couple of mistakes earlier in this one. Is he going, okay, we need to settle down, get back into this groove, and then remount a charge, but you just can't let him get away.
No, I think this is a bit uncharacteristic what we're seeing from Ferris. He generally doesn't, he won't let up. He's like a pit bull, he'll just keep going. However, he won't go too crazy when he's out at the head of the pack. He loves controlling the race from the head of the pack. But I think what's happened is he's been shuffled back a little bit, it's rattled his confidence, and he needs to try to find some new lines and pick up some lap time speed here, because quite clearly, both Tanti and Metcalf are faster than him. I'm not quite sure, we didn't see what happened with the Gibbs situation as to how he got past there. However, he does need to try to find a little bit of time here.
17 minutes left in the moto, still plenty of time for this one to play out as Tanti tries his hardest to close in on our race leader. And he has clawed back just a little bit, 0.1 of a second that last time as they went across. 204 for Gibbs, 207 for Ferris, and then 204 for Waters. So Waters will be the next one on the list to pass Dean Ferris, or challenge to pass for Dean Ferris, as they go down over the tabletop. This one could get very interesting before we're done.
And what I'm looking forward to seeing, Danny, is the latter stages, the later duration of this race. When we get close to the one-lap board coming out, the front 4 place getters that we've got at the moment, scratch that, make it 5 with Todd Waters. Well and truly, he's only 0.8 of a second now behind his arch nemesis, Dean Ferris, who is clearly fighting the bike and making some mistakes. The point I was about to make is Aaron Tanti, if there's a little bit of a chink in the armour that we've seen over him in previous rounds, has been these longer races near the very, very late stage. I don't know if it's necessarily a physical fitness thing or training off the bike or whatever, but it's certainly a case of not being able to hold that pace right the way through to the end of the race like these old guys. Here's a replay, a Honda replay, the Todd Waters incident, tagging the back of Dean Ferris. Of course, no problem for the Honda rider, but nearly sent the Husky rider down on the ground. And it's so easy to give yourself a soil sample when that happens. But how about the intensity from Brett Metcalf here?
204.7 last lap. Closest after that, 205.8. Here's a full second clear on that last lap time. So continues to stretch that lead out, 8.8 seconds. No, he's got to have some kind of a smile under that helmet. I was having a chat with him on the start line just before we got underway. He looks so relaxed, really calm about the day. He knows, as we said, all about this track. He's been around here thousands of times, I'm sure, and done plenty of laps. We see Tanti there. Yep. Still holds down second. Gibbs not far behind, and Ferris closing in. It's
I'm
not
going to
done yet.
say that gap between Tanti back to Gibbs, back to Ferris, back to Todd Waters, it's kind of stabilised a bit. They're close enough on the track to where they've almost given each other enough room that they're out of roost range. So it's brutal to be copping roost off the back of these bikes, just lap after lap for 25 minutes plus a lap. And sometimes there comes a point where it's to your advantage to ease off a bit, give them a bit of room, and they almost think to themselves, well, hey, I must have picked the pace up a bit. I've got some space now. Next thing you launch. Oh, a nice little boot to the rear end there for Ferris.
I've got Jared Pine here. Jared, you look after Dean Ferris. Can you tell us about what's happening with his riding and where he is now? Just give us an update on what happened.
Yeah, obviously good start early. Led for a few laps, but just too many mistakes early and they got around. But finding the groove now, but a little too late, I think. So we'll just see what happens.
Yeah, just riding a little bit tired, just lost his rhythm.
Yeah, wrong line, a few different lines, so we'll see. 5 minutes to go.
Great,
so
thanks, Jared.
Thank you.
And just during that little chat there with Piney, we saw Todd Waters a full excursion off the side of the track. So That's devastating. You know, let's have a look here at the Honda replay. It'll show us. He's copped a little bit of a kick here. And locked the back brake up. And it all started from a boot in the rear end off an unsuspecting braking bump. And once you get kicked like that, you lose all of your braking power, don't you, Danny?
Yeah, it's no way of stopping for us. So had nowhere else to go. But look at this. Ferris turning up the wick in the last part of this race. We have about 2-3 laps left to go. This is the vital part of this race. We know how strong Ferris can be.
Well, this is where Dean Ferris gets a little bit dangerous. We saw it in the latter stages at one of the shorter 15-minute motos at Wodonga at the last round, how dangerous Dean Ferris is at these late stages of the race. And the good thing is you'll be able to have a sneaky little look over his shoulder and see that there's a bit of a gap back to Todd Waters. So it's taken that immediate pressure off. That corner looks so nasty at the moment.
There must be a little bog hole in the middle of that because both of them riders got caught out that last lap around.
Yeah, it almost looked like Gibbsy made a huge mistake and then Ferris did the identical thing.
Waters dropped off the back after his little excursion off the track, so he is slightly fallen out of the contention for that final spot on the podium. Ferris around the outside. Okay, so now we're starting to see Ferris open up some lines. We've been talking about how he did a lot of inside early on in this one, and we've seen the passes made around these outside. Maybe now he's starting to have a look and search around for some different stuff and see if he can close in that gap. Certainly it is tight between all three.
Straight away has come back and if anything is closer to Dean Ferris than Dean is to Gibbsy now.
Yeah, this one certainly is not decided yet as we see the clock down 1 minute. So they'll get this lap in and then potentially one others before they see that last lap board. So it's go time, really. This is the important part of the race. They really need to step it up. Tanti, although he is, it's a little bit quiet at the moment, he has done well to maintain.
He really has.
Yeah, and not succumb to that pressure that he certainly was feeling there, especially when they got deep into those lapped riders.
Well, these are the two most painful laps of the race that we're about to see come upon us. And Dean Ferris throws it into the corner. He finds himself in a bit of a sandwich between two of the veterans of the sport. Kurt Gibbs just up ahead of him, and almost right behind him there is Todd Waters. But you're exactly right. Aaron Tanti, I spoke about it at the early stages of the race, and the question mark that I put on was, can he keep this pace right the way through to the checkered flag? It's certainly looking that way at the moment. He has come up against a very worthy adversary in Brett Metcalf on home turf.
Well, the boys in 3rd, 4th and 5th have just stepped it up. They are the only ones in 207s, our two lead riders in 208s. So we know that these boys know what to do at the end of the race, and they're showing it right now. Can they close in onto the back wheel? Still 1.8 seconds lead for Tanti over Gibbs. So it's not huge, but it's not desperate times just yet.
Well, exciting times at the closing stages of MX1 Moto 1, brought to you by Thor. It is all action with Brett Metcalf at the head of the pack. 10-second gap over Aaron Tanti back there in 2nd place. Just 1 second back to Gibbs, 1 second back to Ferris, and 1 second back to Todd Waters. And not a bad ride from Hayden Melross there in 6th place.
Through the right-hander into the rolling whoops. Waters now just dropped off the back a bit. And off track goes.
Saw that coming from a mile away, halfway through, and that will certainly hand that position over to Todd Waters, a very hard-working Todd Waters. Ferris does not want to give that away. You need to be careful there.
Could you imagine what Waters is saying right now?
Oh, wow.
Waters,
how
nice.
was that? That was some
determination.
Brilliant, absolute dogged determination from Todd Waters.
It doesn't take much to make those mistakes, and especially in that part of the track, it just throws you completely outside. There was absolutely nothing that Ferris could have done going off track there. He was bounced. There was, simply...
Yeah, and he slowed down. He came on hot coming back on for sure, but he took his time all the way around the outside. So it was just, it was almost like one of those F1 situations where the car goes into the pits to refuel and comes back out again, and they come out at exactly the same time onto the main straight. It was very, very cool to watch. Aaron Tanti is coming under siege from Kurt Gibbs at the moment as we
into that last lap.
Last lap board out. Can he withstand this immense pressure as both riders tip it into the very soggy part of the corner.
Another mistake then by Gibbs. Oh, they'd be hurting him at the moment as we see them getting into small lapped riders. And it was almost 1.5, 2 seconds difference that last lap for Gibbs being the quicker of the two riders. Tanti actually slowed down on his lap time. So is he feeling any kind of fitness fatigue?
As did Todd Waters. Todd Waters was a 2:09 as well. So for Kurt Gibbs, he was even faster than Brett Metcalf. So, yeah, look, I think...
it's a bit of both. Small amount of both.
I think it is a little bit of both. And I think more with Tanti, more so than the lap time, we've been able to watch his body language, his posture, his line selection, and you can clearly see that he's fatigued and making bad choices on the track. Doesn't look like it's the case in this moto. Very, very, of course, not as impressive as Metcalf out at the head of the pack, but I think a very important step forward for Tanti this race, moving forward in towards the championship chase.
Down the back part of the track for the final time, moto number 1 for MX1. There is our race leader. He absolutely blitzed this one, jumping back down into the main arena, you can call it, of this circuit. The 24 machine has done everything right from the start of this one. It almost looked like Ferris might have had a chance to run away, but the pressure was kept right there. That part of the track is so strong. And that is exactly where the pass was set up to be made in this corner. What a ride by Metcalf.
Well, what an amazing time for the Metcalf family and the local fans here in Adelaide. He's got the mullet flapping out the back of the helmet, the old retro rat riding gear there, and of course his own Go 24 privateer team running. That is the way that you wrap up a race. What an amazing job he is doing here today in Moto 1. That's how you carve up a lapped rider, isn't it?
Well, he just received the checkered flag. He missed it. He didn't see it because he had a lapped rider right beside him. So it should be the race win right there for Brett Metcalf, who's continuing to either do a parade lap or just try to get a little bit more practice in for Moto number 2.
I was about to wrap up the race win, and then I saw he kept going, and I thought I better keep this commentary going. But no, it's Brett Metcalf that decides that 25 minutes plus a lap is not enough here for the local fans, so he'll keep it going. It won't be too long and he will realise. But Aaron Tanti held on for a very strong second place, and that will do him all the world of good for his championship points chase. Todd Waters will end up 3 points back. But Kurt Gibbs put on a very strong charge at the end there. Todd Waters made the pass, of course, on Dean Ferris in 4th place, but a very pumped Brett Metcalf, and as he should be.
Absolutely, that was a great win, and a dominating win. Absolutely what he needed to do in this one. So
just such a nice guy, and the type of stuff he has done in our sport, wow. Okay, Thor, results, MX1, Moto 1. Let's take a quick look. Brett Metcalf at the top of the tally in 1st place. Aaron Tanti in 2nd. Kurt Gibbs rounding out the top 3, back to Todd Waters and Dean Ferris, your top 5.
Melrose back there in 6th, Rikers in 7th, Evans with a good ride, McManus and Liam Jackson. After a good start, he gets himself a top 10. Well done, Liam.
Joel Whiteman just out of that top 10. Dylan Wood, Jovan Baldwin, who we spoke a lot about, some fantastic results at Wodonga. And here he is. Fantastic job for Brett Metcalf. Let's take a quick look at the Thor lineup for the MX1 Moto 2. Aaron Tanti, Brett Metcalf, Kurt Gibbs, Todd Waters, Dean Ferris. We've got Hayden Melrose, Jaden Rikers, Joel Evans, Levi McManus, Mitchell Norris.
Liam Jackson had a great result in that first one as well. Jovan Baldwin, who we saw so good at the last round. And Lee, just to follow on with what you're saying, the ability to customise those bikes that really make the big difference.
Huge difference, absolutely. Bryson Meeses, Dylan Wood, Oliver Marchant, Seeger Ward, local Western Australian, as is Elijah Weesey there. So a lot of local SA guys know where they're getting around the track here. We've got Corey Watts, Riley Stevens, Joel Sigliano, and the list goes on. We are in the starters' hands. Thor, MX1 Moto 2. And the last chance for these guys to score some very important points here today. Let's see who's going to jump out of that gate in 1st place heading into turn 1.
Metcalf, good.
Much better start from Ferris, though, as he come across. And Tanti was the best of the best. From the middle there, he will own the inside. But no, it's Ferris that has come out. All guns are blazing, and he will lead the pack into turn 3.
So we said that Tanti's line in the first moto was not a good one. He said that he didn't mind it and proved it right there. He got that swing into the corner. He isn't in the lead, but definitely a much better position than he was after moto number 1.
And of course, we know his lap time speed and how fast he is. Now already he's starting to get up there to the back of Dean Ferris. We saw how fast Ferris was in the early stages of Moto 1. It was once we got into lap 2, 3, 4 where we saw a few little issues. Let's take a quick look here. And of course, it was Dean Ferris earning another 100% whole shot award here for Moto number 2 at Gillman. Great start for Metcalf up there in 3rd place.
Melross just there, a little bit loose, coming over one of them rolling bumps off the edge of the track almost. He sits there, trying to get past Rikers.
Yeah, Rikers could have been a lot more rude. Already that pass is made. What a mission Aaron Tanti is on in these early stages.
Oh, mistake. Well, we saw that also in previous rounds where he pushed through the lead like that, and then a quick mistake straight after it allowed the riders to come back and challenge for a bit.
Bad line for Ferris.
Terrible.
He is very, very lucky that Metcalf wasn't there to capitalise on that mistake.
There is Gibbs. He is the worst out of all of them. He is a long way back. I saw in 8th place on that first timing loop that we get to see the split on, so a bad start for him. So he's got some work ahead of him. As we see Ferris still in 2nd place there, but it's going to be a big, big charge right now for Metcalf if he is going to go up there and get the overall for the day.
Well, Metcalf in 3rd place, I guess as he's sitting at the moment, he is still right there in the game. He's only 1 second back, and I'm interested to see if he's going to have the early race pace that he had in the last one, because that was the ticket, and then he could convert that into the last half and did not drop off whatsoever. So does he have the early lap pace? Tanti clearly does. Ferris, we need to wait and see how that's going to evolve. But Metcalf, I think he's looking in a very, very good position at the moment.
Yeah, that's a good place for him to be. We know how strong he is late in these motos. All of these 3 riders are going to be very strong. As we see on screen, Rikers and Melross still battling it out between them. This battle has been raging for quite a few corners at the moment. The pass was almost made early on by Melross on that gas machine, 45 right there. As he swings to the outside to try and find something to happen in front of him. And I did see Waters and Gibbs also battling it out. So we take a quick look at that pass up the inside, beautifully read.
Yeah, fantastic pass there. And a couple of outsides being very costly for Dean Ferris. Another one right here that leads him almost right off the track. That would have been very costly.
That was lucky. That was very lucky.
So, dropping back into the clutches of Brett Metcalf, who quite clearly is flowing and already found some great lines out there on the track at the moment. If he can keep this kind of pressure on, Ferris has caught onto that line where he got passed by Tanti, but I think it's just a matter of time before Metcalf sets his sails on the race leader.
That was a strong part in moto number 1 through there for Metcalf. You just see those 2 bikes. The back end is a little bit more settled on that KTM coming down into that corner than it was for Ferris. Gibbs has made that pass now on Waters already in behind these guys, so he is moving forward at a quick pace as well.
You've got to wonder how much energy he's had to expend coming through those extra riders to get into this position on the track.
They work their way through Morocco's lead turn. You can see Metcalf has regained what he lost, and he lost a lot in that slide out in turn number 1. So he's regained that and kept that momentum going. Lap times are still well and truly up there. The strength we know is going to be there, fighting that bike as it gets kicked a little bit sideways. That is Gibbs on screen on the number 5. He still sits back there in 4th place. Dropped back just a little bit though. He had such good speed at the start. Maybe what you said earlier about having to get past them riders, maybe playing into it at the moment, maybe just catching a breath before he goes again.
I just don't think it's humanly possible to sustain that kind of intensity, that kind of level for 25 minutes plus 2 laps. He knew he needed to put everything he had, all his cards on the table, to not let these 4 get away. He's managed to get on and he probably had to regroup a little bit, but still, you don't want to let him go too much because sometimes you can find if you lose the back wheel of someone that's going just a tiny bit faster than you, sometimes you lose their pace, and if you don't have too much left in the tank, that might be the last you see of them for the rest of the race.
Well, we have lost the back of Gibbs. That is to Todd Waters. He was right there just a moment ago, so something has gone on there, and he has dropped quite a long way back, 5 seconds at back. Actually, as you can see, he's completely, there he is just entering screen. So yeah, he has dropped back a long way, and that's exactly to your point. Once that happened, it is so hard, which is why I'm so surprised that Metcalf has really just gained that back so quick.
He's on a charge. It's great to see, and I know the timing. I was going to say it says 1 point something between each of the first four, and I don't believe it. Not with Medi. I knew it was under that, and sure enough, it just slotted straight down to 0.5 of a second, and an exceptionally hard charge that we're seeing from the local South Australian, who he'll be able to have a couple of bites at the bone, shall we say, to try to remount a challenge that could see him get up and get the overall here today, but he's only going to have around about 3 or 4 goes. He's already had 1 go at it, and it ended up in a near crush. He's got about another couple of goes, I would say, before he's going to run out of chances.
So last time around, they were a bit quicker than the lead rider, and they have closed in just that fraction. It went out to around 3 seconds, down to 1.8. I feel it's closer now as they go across. 1.5 seconds now between the leader and Ferris. You see the fastest on track. That last lap was Kirk Gibbs again. So just like that, yes. A moment ago we said maybe he's taking a breath. Certainly just turned it around once again. And we're not into lap varieties yet, so we can't even say it's because of this. It might have just been a small mistake or just taking that breath. But yeah, these guys, they're all there still. They're all playing for this win in this race at the moment.
Just as we say that, Ferris manages to get himself just the tiniest of gaps over Metcalf now. And that is when it can become very dangerous for Tanti, is if all of a sudden Ferris gets a bit of a run on and he can get himself a little bit of a gap over Metcalf, he all of a sudden doesn't feel that pressure from behind. If his lines start coming together, we know how good Ferris is in those latter stages of the race. If we scan our eyes across now and have a look at the championship points, how they sit at the moment, 145 for Dean Ferris to a 164 for Aaron Tanti. So really does need to make that pass. To watch this space very carefully as he edges his way closer towards our race leader at the moment. 6 minutes left on the clock. There is plenty of time.
This is the provisional points on the right-hand side, as you can see, if they stay in the positions they're in currently. So Tanti still will get that red plate. Waters back there to second. Metcalf on 150, so only a couple back from there. Ferris on 143. Kirk Gibbs, it's so close, this whole championship. It's only one round, a bad round by any of them will completely change this entire championship outcome.
You'll have to forgive me for saying it, but I like it. I don't want anyone to run away with this championship. It's not very often that you get to see the Premier MX1 class as we watch this pass being made, set up and executed to perfection by Brett Metcalf. It's not very often in a championship series that we can look at the MX1 class, the Premier class, and go, oh, that's the one where most of the battles and the closest points chase is. It's very rare that that happens. It's normally the support classes that have that happening, and quite often we'll have some superstar or a couple of riders that are maybe battling for the lead of the championship. This is, we're in, unseen circumstances at the moment.
5 minutes on the clock. Tanti, the slimmest of margins, 0.9 of a second now. I'll tell you what, Metcalf is looking the goods at the moment. The excitement that I'm sure he has is just driving him along. Let's quickly head down to Kate with Craig Dack.
Yeah, I've got Craig Dack here. Dacker, tell us about his speed out there and can he hold off the other boys?
Yeah, it seems, if you watch it, it's a bit of a cat and mouse game amongst the 4 of them at the moment. It seems like the track's sort of a certain speed, which they're limited to. If they push a bit harder than that, they make a small mistake and then lose time, then they've got to get it back again. So Metcalf's looking pretty strong at the moment, so...
Can he hold him off?
I hope so. It'd be nice if we can. And we're just taking the lead, so it'd be nice to hold it.
Thanks, Dacker.
Thanks.
He's got such a great personality, Craig Dack, and he can't hide the emotions out there, and well-deserved as well. His boy's out showing everyone what it's all about at the moment, but he's got company, and I tell you what, he's doing an exceptional job. He's Brett Metcalf. He found his line. That was the line he was looking for earlier on, Danny.
I just saw in the background too that Gibbs is right on the back wheel of Ferris too, so there is 2 battles that are developing here. And we'll see how this one plays out.
I actually think,
Gibbs
yes,
has made the pass.
he made the pass 2 corners ago.
Yeah, right. So Gibbs on a charge. Let's have a look at his lap times over these next couple of laps. See if he is really starting to put in. I mean, if he gets up there and paddles it out with these guys as well, this is going to be something great to watch.
3 minutes on the clock and 3 seconds back to him. And that's, that's what you go off. If someone finds some exceptional form, it's not too much to ask to pull 1 second a lap out.
Yep.
So we could potentially see, if Gibbsy is on a flyer at the moment, we could potentially see him join the fray at the head of the pack with the Tanti-Metcalf battle for this win here.
What I'm liking is that their fastest time's 204.7, 204.6. They've only dropped 1.5 seconds off their fastest time. That's their current lap time, still doing that. So they're really pushing it at the moment.
So, sorry, while you were looking at the timing screen there, Danny, on screen, Aaron Tanti down the back side of that tabletop as they come down to the lower level, front wheel washing all the way down. So, that would have got his heart rate up, elevated ever so slightly. Doesn't seem to have flustered him too much. I'm really liking the new headspace that we're seeing from Tanti in these latter stages of the race. He looks like someone that has changed his mindset.
Correct me if I'm wrong, this is for the overall as well between these two, is that correct?
Yes.
So Metcalf needs to make this pass, otherwise they will tie on points and the countback will go to Aaron Tanti, officially the overall winner on the day. Of course, they'll be equal points, but at the moment, Tanti is doing everything right. Getting back to that little point you said about the front wheel washing out, it takes only a couple of them to make you tighten up, and all of a sudden that pressure, that extra pressure that is applied by the rider behind you, that multiplies, and then things get even harder to do, tighten up and slowing down. So if he can weather those little mistakes and continue on, then he's got a good chance of running it all the way to the end.
You start to doubt yourself ever so slightly, and you start to question, right, okay, you worry about the track and then you worry about the rider, and next thing, your focus on what you're supposed to be thinking about's gone straight out the window. You make a little mistake and it's all over. But how long can he sustain this pressure, this unrelenting pressure from Brett Metcalf, who's flying through that section? This is Metcalf's part of the track. I think he's potentially trying to set up some form. Oh, just didn't even care that he was blasting into those treacherous ruts. Totally different line there. Metcalf's been taking that inside so far. Slingshots around the outside. What can we see from Metcalf up the inside?
It's a desperate move.
It is a desperate move, but there is a line to be found. Wow.
Much respect, but remember, he's quick down the bottom here as well. He looks to the inside, but I think he's lost just a little bit.
This is where Tanti almost washed out the front wheel at the bottom there in the last lap, but it wasn't to be that time. Much better around. But the inside here, let's see if Metcalf goes for that same line. Remember how fast he was through there when he passed Dean Ferris.
Well, it's 30 seconds on the clock, so I think we've still got 2 laps ahead of us here. I thought we might have run out of time, but it is going to go down to 2 more laps. Have a look at the crowd on the right-hand side.
And Gibbs is closing that gap a little bit, but not enough if he wants to be in there for the final lap.
16:15, he is going to get across. I'm sure Tanti is like, where is that board? Right now, he's got 2 more laps to endure if he wants to hold on for this win. But he's doing an exceptional job right now.
No matter what happens for Metcalf, even if he ends up second here and he ends up equal on points but finishes second overall, it's been an incredible day for the hometown hero. But I think the main story here is the turnaround of form and self-belief that we're seeing from Aaron Tanti.
Yeah, so much stronger at the end of this moto. He's opened up that small amount of a gap now over Metcalf.
He's come under siege from 2 of the biggest names in our sport. The multiple attacks from Dean Ferris and from Brett Metcalf.
Down into the left-hander before they move around through Michelin Corner. And
They're saying last lap on the screen.
Okay.
But I don't think it was. There was
2 laps to go on our timing.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, so disregard that on our screen, because almost certainly we had not elapsed time as they went across.
Yep.
So does Brett Metcalf have enough time to mount one more challenge? Did you just see Kurt Gibbs up the inside there? He is within striking range.
Nice
Beautiful line from Brett Metcalf.
Yeah, Metcalf.
Little mistake from Aaron Tanti. Little wash of the front wheel, locked up the back brake. There'll be a little bit of time lost here to Brett Metcalf.
Yep, so he's still right there. Has Metcalf just taken a breath over that last lap? Oh, Gibbs, though. What time's Gibbs doing? Because he wasn't that close just a minute ago.
No, and so it's reflecting he's made up 0.5 on the last registered time, but I think it's the last half of this lap that hasn't shown yet.
That back end was off the track just then for Kirk Gibbs. As we move into some more lap riders, another mistake, the desperation coming into it over this final lap.
Kirk Gibbs dealt the best with that hook there in that corner. Little bit of a hold up there. Coming out of that corner with a lap rider getting into the way of Brett Metcalf. And is that going to be enough? Is that enough room for Tanti to hold on for one more lap? The final test.
Yeah, and he has answered the call superbly today. 9 seconds back behind them. That is Ferris.
Dropped an eternity there.
Yeah, after he wasn't able to maintain that pace, there's no need to try and keep up with it. And he's dropped back to ride his own race, collect what points he can, and then regroup for the next round. As we see Tanti pass the mechanics area for the final time, those boards would be giving him all the information he needs. As you see Metcalf blasting around the outside, trying to keep that momentum going.
Just giving everything he's got. An outside line there from Kirk Gibbs, but that'll slingshot him back to the far right where there's no bumps. Will it make up a bit of extra time here? Who is going to be the one to make a mistake? That was a beautiful corner from Brett Metcalf. He's got one last chance to try to string something together, but it's going to take a mistake from Tanti. A little bit of side-to-side action from Tanti through there, and we just saw Brett Metcalf launch a double through there. Oh!
205.8 was the last lap around by Gibbs. That is why he closed in so much quicker on track. Will it go down to the very final turns? You see that front wheel sliding all the way around for Tanti through that turn. Oh, Gibbs,
beautiful line through there. Where did he come from? He must have some crazy good line through there that we just cannot see.
I love how this is timed out. These boys are timing it so perfectly.
Gibbs on the inside. Can he mount a challenge? Have a look at the exit speed in the corner from Kirk Gibbs. Cover your line, Brett Metcalf, because the KTM rider is coming. You can almost throw a blanket over these three riders with just a handful of corners to go.
Last part of the track, second last turn right here. I think Tanti has done enough. He's certainly done enough. The crowd trying to beef up Metcalf to get up there, but it's not going to be enough. Aaron Tanti will come across with a fantastic win and proves that he has turned everything around for himself. He is a force to be reckoned with this championship. Takes the championship lead and the red plate. What a ride.
Changing of the guard. Welcome to the show, Aaron Tanti. What a spectacular day for him. And he has turned this championship points chase on its head. He has halted the charge of Dean Ferris that had to be done here if they had any chance of stopping the Honda HRC rider. We have got one heck of a championship chase on our hands, Danny Ham.
Oh, this is lining up to be something special. Who would have thought 2022, after all of what's happened over the last few years, we'd be seeing one of the most exciting championships we've seen in many, many years in the MX1 class.
Wow, that was a fun race to call, and they kept us on our toes the whole 25 minutes plus a lap. Craig Dack will be one very, very happy person at the moment, and there, on screen at the moment, we have a look at that. Scotty Bishop over to give a little handshake. What have you spotted?
Brett Metcalf put his fastest lap down of the entire race, that last lap at a 204.9.
Wow. Oh, and he has put everything in. Still, nonetheless, fantastic job from Brett Metcalf. Let's take a look here. Thor results, MX1 Moto number 2. Aaron Tanti with the win from Brett Metcalf. Kirk Gibbs finishing so strong. Dean Ferris back in 4th place, and Todd Waters rounding out the top 5.
Mel Ross back there in 6th. Rikers Evans with another great ride as well. Jobin Baldwin with 9, much better than his first race. And Zachary Watson back there in 10th place.
In P3, we've got Kirk Gibbs from KTM. I tell you what, that was just so tight at the end. Some really fast laps. Walk us through that amazing battle.
Yeah, I didn't execute that start like I wanted to. Like I said on the start line, made it hard on myself and had to battle through. So, yeah, I felt like I had really good speed then. And, yeah, once those boys sort of got out front, I got past Dean, I was able to bridge that gap and, yeah, make a fight of it, which is good. I haven't really been up there that much. So, you know, just pumped for my team, KTM Racing Team, and, you know, everyone that supports me. And we're all been working our butt off to try and bridge that gap and get up here. And hopefully this is the first of the rest of them.
Yeah, well done. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And in P2, the man of the weekend. Yay! Brett Metcalf of Go24.
Hey!
I tell you what, you put on quite a show for your home audience this weekend.
I gave it my all. You know, I come here, quite a lot of pressure when you come in. You got one home race a year to deliver. And, you know, in a perfect world, it would have been a 1-1, but I won 2. I'm really proud of that effort. I gave it my absolute everything in that last race. I wanted it bad, but Aaron gave me nothing, no mistakes. He rode flawless. And the other old SA boy, Kirk, up my butt the whole race. And what a last moto for us, for the crowd. I just want to say thanks to the whole crowd. I could hear you guys everywhere. It really pushed me, but I had nothing left in the tank. That was all. So I want to thank you guys. Go24, Whitehall Transport, KTM, powered by DBS, Michelin, Rat Racing, Fist, M2R, and everybody else, Panther Fields, Scott Goggles, my family, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, lots of hugs to go around for you there, Brett.
Thank you.
And in P1, who's leading the championship with that red plate, it's Aaron Tanti from CDR Yamaha Monster Energy. That must feel so good to get your first win.
Yeah, you know, it was an awesome day. I got my first Super Pole and got my first race win, my first overall, and now I got the red plate for the first time in the 450 class. You know, I was super stoked. I rode really well today. The first one I got an average start, but I nailed that second start and got up front early and got to ride a strong race. You know, I had Medi behind me. I knew it was Medi without looking back because I could hear the crowd. But, you know, I pushed. I really wanted it, and super happy with how the day went. And, you know, I can't thank CDR Yamaha Monster Energy team enough, and everyone that supports us, like all the personal sponsors and all the sponsors, Fox Racing, Dunlop, and yeah, just everyone that supports me back home.
The pressure that you were under was unbelievable. Do you feel like you've made progress in that space?
Yeah, 100%. You know, I've been working really hard with the team this year. They've been a massive help, and my trainers back home. I've changed a lot this year, and I'm trying to get better every round, and it's just proven that I am. So I'm super happy with that.
Well done, Aaron.
Thank you.
Very, very close between Todd Waters and Brett Metcalf. Only 2 points separating those two, but a nice, substantial little gap from Aaron Tanti back to those two.
Yeah, it's going to be great to see.
All right, well, make sure you pop into your calendars. Round 5 of the Penrite Pro MX Championships, brought to you by AMX Super Stores, as it heads to Maitland in June 26th, where we enter the last half of the championship points chase. Make sure you don't miss round 5 of the My Bike Motorcycle Insurance Australian Superbike Championships, presented by Motul, as it heads to Morgan Park Raceway in Warwick, Queensland, scheduled for August 5th and 7th. And of course, make sure you check out the Nowra doubleheader, round 7 and 8 of the Yamaha Australian Off-Road Championship, presented by MX Store, which will take place on the weekend of the 6th and 7th of August. Danny Ham, what a day we have seen.
I don't think we could have asked for better racing, especially in the MX1 class. It is really keeping it alive. There's plenty of riders that will contend for this championship. We've got so many more rounds to go. I cannot wait.
Well, let's hope that this is a sign of things to come, that's for sure. Well, what a fantastic day's racing we've seen here at Gillman for round 4 of the Penrite Pro MX Championship, brought to you by AMX Super Stores. On behalf of myself, Lee Hogan, Danny Ham and Kate Peck, thank you for your company. We'll see you next as we head to Maitland, New South Wales for round 5 of the championship.